if we think of this notion of frameworks, you got frameworks in programming. Like I'm a software engineer, so like it's huge. Like so much of modern software engineering is just scaffoldings of frameworks on frameworks on frameworks. We don't really even program anymore. It's just calling frameworks to do the thing for us. Or calling APIs. So we have this notion of frameworks being used in, you could say, certainly in cognitive science, but even in like neuroscience, where we have something like the free energy principle, or more of something more concrete like active inference. So if we think of frameworks in the field of phenomenology, how would that differ from the way we speak of frameworks in more of the natural sciences?
Or in the computer
Jeff, I
science.
want you to.
I would
Yeah.
just say the natural sciences because like I mean yes certainly computer science is part of it, but then again as I mentioned, neuroscience, cognitive science, like we use a lot of frameworks to understand certain phenomena, right? But then
Yeah.
how would that
Okay, so I'll answer. Yeah, so I'll start. So I also do quite a bit of software engineering, and in fact, my next meeting today is I have my daily SimBrain pair programming session
love
with
it.
me, a guy named Yulin, and usually some AI gets involved. So there's three of us, and we're using lots of libraries, lots of frameworks. I actually think that is a great way to understand the kind of compatibilist approach to phenomenology with incremental progress I've been describing. This is kind of idiosyncratic to me, but to me, it's a great way to do this kind of infinite task, communal social task that Husserl had in mind. It's like, let's work out the phenomenology of the legal system. Wait, it turns out that the free energy principle is really good and helpful here. So we've got, let's import import Husserl ideas one, import free energy, such and such, and then, in your study, make use of those as you're kind of working out what's going on. And I mean, the nice thing about the computer science example is, is that it's not that huge mass of stuff is organized, right? There's very direct, clear progress as you go through subsequent versions of different frameworks, and things will get incompatible, but it quickly gets fixed. And so we get all the kinds of nice things we have with software engineering today. And I think the point applies equally well to natural scientific frameworks, So looking at, probably you could push this analogy through to physics and biology and how people look at different scales at the same things. And I mean, there's of course debates, but there's a lot across temporal and spatial scales. There's a huge amount of collaborations. I mean, understanding an ecosystem involves understanding gene expression and, protein expression and, molecular processes and thermodynamics. And so, I'm kind of like recapitulating, the glory days of positivism and the progressive view of science. I didn't know that would come out so much today. But I think it works, and I think software engineering is actually a really nice way to think about it, even in phenomenology. Yeah. So across
Mm.
phenomenology, science, and software.
Yeah, I would just add that, like, I guess we've been somewhat cynical or skeptical about frameworks in this conversation to some degree, like saying that, we can't
Hmm.
conflate the territory, and that's absolutely appropriate. But I guess all I would add is there's a reason why maps work, right? Like, so we can't forget that the world, it's not, these are not useless tools. Even if they are just tools, like they need to have some connection to whatever the object of study is. And so maybe that's heartening for people who do want to try and make this connection between lived experience and the natural sciences, or just taking the resources of natural sciences to, softer sciences, cognitive science, psychology, economics, sociology, and so on. Which is that, like, oddly enough, and this is the sort of grand metaphysical question of it all, there does seem to be a bit of order in the universe, albeit with a lot of stochasticity and chaos at the same time. And so, yeah, just to say that when we're applying free energy equations or POMDP, yeah, no one's saying that this isn't to make the ontological commitment that organisms are literally doing Bayesian, inference. But there clearly is, or at least you can make the, given certain underlying axioms that defeat global skepticism, that there is something worth modeling, and we can do quite a good job at that and get close to it. So yeah, despite the kind of cynicism, skepticism, there's a reason why people are doing this stuff. And yeah, I'm kind of hopeful that that generative passage is just going to get stronger and stronger. I hope, or I'm out of a job. So
This was a apologia for us to be employed as people who
yeah,
work in
exactly.
the abstract disciplines.